Father, 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 dear Father, death. I am wearing my father's clothes. I am wearing the only clothes I have. I am wearing the clothes of the dead. I wear his shirt, even his underwear. I'm like a tiger drinking blood. I must wear these clothes. I must become lost in his underwear because I'm the type of man who could fit quite easily into a pair of pants belonging to a corpse. I see nothing but a rose, a red rose. Oh, Father, death, they have put my father in a box, and there he remained for everyone to see, a wax mummy asleep in the belly of the flesh eater. After the flesh eater came the fire, and after the fire a smaller box. Now every day I visit my father in his small box, rub the ashes between my fingers, and listen to the soul of my father speak gently to me. Son, I love you. Ah, Father, does the soul really exist? Father, did you speak to me? I pick up my pipe. The black insect crawled quickly up the kitchen wall. At first I thought of pressing my thumb down on its body, bringing a quick halt to its existence, and creating a mensuration of black on the crack between the wall and the icebox. But, on sober reflection, I saw myself crawling up that white wall, and taking pity upon myself, I lit my pipe with a match, using my thumb to press down only the loose tobacco. Death, dear Father, death, how does the process begin? In my own experience, the process of death begins with a dream. In silence and solitude, there is life. There, in the space of our own decay, the flesh, blood, and bones of memory. A year and a half ago, my father telephoned me. He is going into the hospital tomorrow to undergo a series of tests for cancer. He tells me the name of the hospital, but I refuse to hear it. I'm very calm when he tells me that the doctors know that he has a tumor in the lungs, black spot on the lung, as he calls it. But they don't know whether it is a tiger drinking blood or simply a black spot of innocence. These are not my father's words. My father is a simple man. This is how I see life. His words, I don't remember his words, but his fear, yes, I feel his fear around my mouth, digesting my liver, kidneys, sucking the blood out of my balls and prick. My father is covered with fear like a dead horse covered with flies and maggots. My life is not without those moments of futility, when I have too much pride to speak to God or even recognize God's existence, when I am conscious of the devastating smells of human decay, when I am conscious of the rats feasting on the cancerous tumors of my America, when I'm aware of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are still images in my dreams, illuminating images of greed and power, extinguishing human faces and of human skin crawling away under the flame from the bone of human beings and forming conspicuous piles of ashes. In these moments of utter despair, I would blow my brains out if it were not for curiosity. What is the shape of time and space? Does the soul exist? What creature is this that slowly eats upon my Father's flesh? It has 1,000 names, and yet its lack of definition shapes and dwarfs the imagination, and we are helpless before it. The old mythology is dying. I must create my own myth. The old mythology is dying. I must create my own myth. The old mythology is dying. I must create my own myth. I must create my own myth. What is it to be human? 6 months ago, after the Father, 6 months ago, after the Father, 6 months ago, after the Father, after the doctor, after the Father, after the doctor, after the Father, after the doctor, told me again that my father would die, I went into my father's room. Father laid in bed, covered in wires. I answered his questions with lies. Sometimes I looked at the walls. Sometimes I looked at the ceiling. I answered every one of his questions until my father was invisible. And I couldn't see him anymore. I could only see the imaginary creature I had created with those lies. After 10 minutes, I got up, kissed this immortal being on his forehead, and left. Outside the hospital, I got into my car and drove. It is my observation that many people talk about feelings, but few reveal and share them. Most people, I fear, are content to look askance at themselves, as if the figure they see in the mirror is a black cat which belongs on someone else's lap. How does an individual who at the age of 5 perhaps allowed his feelings to be cut away from the rest of his being, amputated the throat, how does this individual look at himself in the mirror? Is there any hope at all that a single fragment of feeling might have survived the wanted butchery of his childhood? Oh, Father, death. I want to sleep. I'm lost. And my Father is lost to me. Oh, Father, death, come. Come and embrace me. Embrace me. Birds. Birds are symbols of the spirit and soul. Above me, 3 strange blackbirds, them of shadow and dream, hanging upside down from the telephone wires, singing against the wind. The birds spoke to me as if I were dead. Someone should speak to him, 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 Suddenly, my body became alive, as if Christ himself had kissed me on the lips and filled my whole body with his breath. Yes, yes, I said to the birds in flight. Yes, yes, yes. My body was covered with sex. Dear Father, I found you, thank God. Still lying on your back with those transparent wires covering your body. I forced myself to look at you. I forced myself to smile. Lies, invisibility. I stopped smiling. I forced myself to see your body as it grew smaller and smaller. Ah, dear Father, now your body was completely visible to me. Now I accepted it. Yes, now. Only death was shrinking it. How, when I found the courage to open my nostrils and take a deep breath, the odor of your ship took me totally by surprise. It was so sweet, like a peach or a strawberry. Dear Father, we never listened to music together. Did you enjoy music? What are you? What were you? What dreams possessed you? What nightmares did you embrace? Did you enjoy food? Sex? Did you ever masturbate? How little I knew you. Father, tell me these things before you die. How many ways can a man enter a woman's body? I want to lay down with you. I want to crawl into your dead bed. I want you to hold me. I want your pale, sick lips to press against me, to kiss me before it is too late. I want you to whisper into my ear that you love me. I want to hold your excrement in my hands, press it against my lips. Father, I'm going to give us both a wonderful gift. I'm going to tell you that you are dying. Death. Father, death. It has been 4 weeks since I saw him last. I sat with him in his small hospital room. He sat near the window. He never looked outside. Are you speaking to me, Father? No, he hadn't spoken since I entered the room. His face was white. Father, speak to me. He looked very tired. Father, speak to me. His body looked totally lost within the white sheet. For the last 2 nights, I have slept with a pair of scissors underneath my bed. The scissors are a poor weapon, but a weapon nevertheless. But a weapon against what? Whom? Dear Father. Dear Father. Dear Father. If you had died in centuries past, many people would have gathered around you, and physically you would not have died alone. But we live in a time when death is not fully acknowledged. People would rather look at inanimate objects than walk into a room, pull up a chair, and smile and nod at death. Yet, if we could have found in this age a group of people who would have smiled, nodded, and sat down, oh, how much more difficult it would still remain to find that one person who would totally rejoice with death, as death digested with great pleasure. Yes, I would imagine death would with great pleasure. Let it be with great pleasure then that death sits himself down between your legs, eating with fantastic rejuvenation your sick flesh, and leaving that last delicate root you cherish for last. Oh, Father, see how death sucks out the final juice and falls asleep. I wanted my Father to teach me, to share with me the sacred knowledge. Death, Father, death. Am I a demon? Am I an angel? I just simply want to be human. Obscenity, sweet, pure obscenity. What is it to be a human being? What is it to be a human being? What is it to be a human being? If he would have permitted it, I would have worn his skull around my neck 6 months after his death. I would have given one of his small bones to my brother, and one to my mother, and one to his wife, and I would have painted his remaining bones and placed them in a hollow log. But if I had spoken these words to my Father, he never would have understood. Am I insane? or human. It is time, dear Father, death. It is time. I spent the whole day with my father, leaving the hospital only after the doctor reassured me that before he died there would be some physical sign of his health declining, and that process would take at least 2 hours. 2 hours. I grasped at that hope. Just enough time for the nurses to reach me by phone and for me to drive from wherever I might be to the hospital. I left the hospital, and no sooner had I left than my father's vital signs changed drastically. No longer was he in that peaceful sleep, which I look upon now as that false sleep. His breathing had altered. His face was no longer calm. When I learned the news, I drove at top speed back to the hospital, shouting out again and again to the dark clouds overhead. For all I knew, my father now might be those clouds. Not yet, Father. Damn it! Damn it! Damn you! Do not leave me yet. The soul is obscure and obscene, Father. The flesh is pure. Do not leave me yet. Give me this at least. Give me this. God, don't take my daddy yet. I ran from the car to the hospital elevator. I felt somewhat like a fool after all. How silly it was to think that my daddy was really dying. It was all just a game of make-believe after all. When I entered his room, I saw this figure under white sheets. A single red rose on the table between him and me. I sat down, held his hand. Oh, how he had changed in just those 2 hours. I had left a man asleep, and when I returned, I found this animal on its side, gasping for every breath. His whole concentration was on that breath. I held his hand and tried to breathe for him, but I was useless. My breath escaped out into the room like a butterfly, and my father, twisted in the white sheets, his mouth opened like a transparent net, and it was useless. My breath escaped his grasp. Now, oh, as my love had escaped his grasp for all of those years. Was he speaking to me? No. If he had spoken, and if they were words, I had not heard them any more than I had, during all of those years, heard his love. But if they were not words, for he was beyond speech, but just short of the silence and solitude, and what existed now was that immense amount of concentration which he needed in order to express that single breath. But if they were not words, what if they were not words? 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 I took the rose and brushed it gently against my father's nostrils. Smell, Father. Smell. It's life. Smell the red rose. His body was on this side. The sound of the death rattle was on this side. The side nearest me. But was he on this side? It's hard to believe. It has been easier for me to believe I saw angels with long penises than for me to believe that my father was still on this side of the world. And yet, what creature took that breath, if not he? And if that be my father, oh, Father, how we waste our years. Never in one moment of my dreams did I see you turn into such a frightful animal. Never in my wildest nightmares did I see such a twisted image of my own reflection, and yet not me at all. For this animal and all of its ugly beauty is you, my Father. When he died, I went crazy. The beauty of such a change from life that I understood or thought I did to that which I didn't understand at all left me in possession of his only gift, which I realized my Father could ever have given me. His moment of enigma